Fernando, today I want us to talk about two C words, and those words are communication and connection. Often they go side by side, but I want you to share with us what in your own personal life, what is the link between communication and
I
connection?
think one of the biggest things that connects communication and connection is something that a lot of people don't think about when you hear those two words. Immediately, I feel like a lot of people think about talking and speech, but I'm always trying to concentrate on the listening aspect of it. So when I hear communication and connection, I think about listening, trying to understand what someone is telling me, informing me about, teaching me, or just a simple conversation between friends. So listening is so important because when you listen, you're able to really grasp what a person is trying to say, not just through their words, but through their actions, and most importantly, through the emotions that they're carrying, through the words that they're using.
I definitely agree with you. And in fact, listening is an entire lesson built into our public speaking course where we're teaching that as a skill. And I'm 100% guilty of this too. I've been teaching and training myself throughout the years to listen to understand rather than to reply, which is a concept I remember from a book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'm sure it's one of those wisdom pieces that gets transferred down, but it's really true. A lot of times someone's speaking and we're planning out the thing we're going to say next. And I'm happy to say that it's 100% doable. You can train yourself to stop the inner dialogue when someone is speaking and listen and then reply. I feel like one of the most important things we can do in class is to make meaningful connections. Obviously, by being together, especially in a class like public speaking, it's a smaller room. It's not a massive lecture hall. It's in our class, it's 25 students together. But tell me, how did you build meaningful connections in the classroom?
I think specifically in public speaking, one of the biggest things that helped me create meaningful connections was um, keeping in mind that most of us students that were taking that course were actually very nervous about taking that course. We might be confident, but we are lacking in one department or another. And that makes all of us equally nervous because we're there to tackle that aspect of public speaking that we're not good at. So keeping that in mind really helped me connect with them. One of the greatest things that public speaking, the course does is it immediately jumps us at trying to express who we are in front of everyone. One of the first things that we have to do is create a speech, a very short speech about who we are, summarizing our backstory and the important points of why we're there as well. And that's so important because it gives you the opportunity to listen in, pay attention, and say, oh, their story and who they are is kind of similar to who I am. So it really helps to uh, break the ice and kind of be able to connect and make friends.
The concept that we're all in it together, everybody's there for the same reason, to grow in this particular skill, which is actually tons of little skills built, bunched into one category. One of the big areas we want to touch base on today is how emotions and expressing emotions play a role in building connection. A lot of times in workplaces, even in classrooms, it's considered unprofessional to display emotion. And I actually feel very differently about that. So before we dive fully into the emotional language talk, what do you think about expressing emotions in the classroom?
I think that it is 100% something needed. My bachelor's degree and what my graduate studies are going to be about is within science. And in the scientific field, everything has to be unbiased. You have to be kind of cold and emotionless to be able to process the information and then give a result without any type of interpretation within your emotional field. I think that it's so important to add emotions even through that, and specifically in public speaking, and even 100% more in a classroom, because at the end of the day, you're a human being. Human beings are designed to feel emotions and to act on them. You know, one of the biggest things is that fight or flight kick that you get when you're going to talk. Your body starts to tremble. You feel the pit of your stomach, you know, drop. All of that. Those are instinctual emotions, but they're emotions nonetheless. And to be able to go through these emotional, what I would say, panic situations, these snippets of panic situations, to be able to get through them, you need to have emotions. And you need to express your emotions to be able to process them and get through them to reach the other side where you'll feel more calm and collected.
Definitely. And we have this concept of emotional hijacking in the world of psychology, and that's when those emotions take over, and sometimes we don't even know what's happening. And as humans, information hits the emotional part of our brain before it hits the logical piece. So when you say we need to be able to express them in order to get to a calmer place, science agrees with you. I agree with you too, 100%, that this is the way we process information. Sometimes some people move really quickly to logic. Other people take a little bit longer to get through this. And with public speaking, our emotions are often very much connected, even if we're talking about a non-emotional subject, like in the sciences, for example, because we're talking, it's us up there, all eyes are on us, we're trying to communicate clearly. So there's so much that goes into it. I think a lot of people believe they need to suppress the emotion, but then I believe that only creates a bigger effect if we don't deal with them. So I'm totally on board with you on that. When we share emotions, that helps evoke some action on the part of the audience. What's the connection between us talking about our emotions to the audience and the audience doing something?
I think one of the biggest things is, again, going back to this idea, humans are emotional beings. And due to that fact, we are empathetic beings. So when we feel our emotions, we want to express them. And when we see someone else express their emotions, we're able to empathize with them and kind of cue our minds up with their minds and believe in the message that they're sending and be able to accept it or interpret it a lot better. So if an individual is giving a speech and it's something that they are not connected to emotionally, I feel like a lot of individuals that are paying attention to that speech are just going to be bored, they're not going to be interested. And if the individual gives a call to action, the people listening are not going to feel like that motivation to actually do that action and actually stand up for the message that the individual is giving.
Very often in class, we talk about shared meaning as one of the goals of public speaking. I want to communicate something to you, and I want you to receive it the way that I intended, and to be able to have that transfer of information leading to communication. We've talked a little bit about communication, connection, and the role that emotions and expressing our emotions plays in the public speaking classroom and even in other areas of our life. So if you had to sum up your message for everybody listening in one sentence, what do you say, Fernando? What's the bottom line of your message?
As important as speaking is in public speaking, it is equally important to be able to listen. Because at the end of the day, when you're trying to convey your message, you'll be able to interpret all the points of views that are present. Not only will that give strength to your message, that'll also give strength to your resolve if you believe in it, and it'll help convey your emotions a lot better towards others.
Absolutely. Those two things cannot be separated. It is speaking, so of course it is about us sharing that information, but imagine, maybe people know someone like this, maybe you know someone like this, where it's all about the speaking and there is never any listening. That is not pleasant to be around. We don't feel like we're a part of that conversation. Now let me ask you this: if you had to put your message on a t-shirt, so you only have a couple words, what does the t-shirt say?
Listen and your voice will echo, or listen and your voice will resound.
I like that. And I feel like if I saw you in a class with that t-shirt on, I would I would come talk to you about it. Like that would interest me enough to be like, hey, what's your t-shirt about? I like that. Fernando, you've graduated college, you're in graduate school now. What is a public speaking skill that you're still working on? Because at the end of the day, we're always learning, we're always growing. So what's something that you're working on?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm still working on is trying to organize my speech before I give it in front of a group of people. As fun as public speaking was, and as important as the speaking part was, it also taught me a lot about writing and trying to write down my ideas and organize them effectively. So that's one of the things that I still struggle with, and I'm in continuing to learn.
I think that is a very common skill that gets developed, and really excellent point. It's not just about speaking. So much of it is about writing because we have to write our content, and we have strategies like organizational patterns. So maybe revisiting some of those organizational patterns can help you in your work moving forward. What's a skill that you're really proud of when it comes to your speaking?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is I am nervous, but being able to calm down enough while doing the speech or the presentation to the point where I'm able to settle in front of the class and organize my thoughts while I'm standing up there. If I get a little jumbled or confused, being able to not feel nervous enough to, oh my God, have to speak something, have to say something, fill in the blank and fill in the void. But know that there is value in silence and silencing yourself and keeping quiet when you're trying to organize something, and that's not going to be a detriment to your speech. It might be more impactful or or it might send your message across a lot more clear with that silence and it being okay.
That is a really big deal and an incredible thing to have developed. And I'm so glad that you got that out of your time learning in the classroom and something that you feel really good about yourself. So very nice, Fernando. Love it.
Thank you.
Let's say you get 15 seconds to go back in time to talk to your 18-year-old self. What do you say?
Follow your passions, listen to your voice, and don't let anyone deter you from what you believe in. One of the biggest things that Hispanic culture and Hispanic parents do to their children is impose this idea that to be happy, you need money. And the only three jobs that pay well enough for you to be happy is like becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or being in some field of STEM. It is not completely true. If your passions lie in that field, great, go for it. I think that it is so important at the age of 18 when you're starting college to know to follow your passions, because sometimes you have this set schedule and the set plan in your head and your emotions go against it, and it's okay that they go against it. Just don't push them away.
I hear this from students all the time, from friends all the time. I've experienced too, and it seems that people of many cultures have very similar belief systems about professions that are safe and that will bring financial freedom and help families get out of debt or be more financially rewarded. So it comes up all the time, and it ends up costing a lot of people their creativity. I remember chatting about this with you in class. Self-care, the concept of self-care is so important. And so I want to ask you one last question. What is the most recent thing that you did to take really good care of you?
One of the biggest things that I think I did recently to take care of myself, it's something that a lot of people are not going to maybe think of self-care, but I actually started taking a 4-week course on creative writing. And it's something that has inspired me. It helps me understand writing in general a lot better, but it also keeps motivating me and keeps inspiring me to continue writing.
And that's one of the beautiful things of these acts of self-care, is that it can be anything as long as it means self-care to you. And certainly expanding your knowledge in a field that brings you joy is fantastic. And there's no reason why creative writing, cell biology, and anthropology can't come together. I mean, I can imagine a beautiful space where having creative writing skills actually enhances those worlds too, and where you can communicate to people in a way that lands with an audience, perhaps even a non-scientific audience, to be able to understand those concepts. Is there anything that you want to share that I haven't asked you?
I would like to say, take your time. Everyone is following their own path. You can't compare yourself to someone else's story. You don't have to rush through it. You don't have to feel like you're behind on something. No, you're taking your time to learn, to explore, and to become a better you.
Very cool, Fernando. Thank you. This is wonderful. I love getting to hear from you today and being able to create content like this that I am just praying and hoping that it reaches so many people and helps inspire. And really that we don't have to separate science from creativity or science from art. And in fact, I feel like they go hand in hand so many times and for so many people.
I'm so thankful that I got the opportunity to participate in this and help you send out this message to all the individuals that might be listening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fernando. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, you too.
Someone else's chapter 20, right? Did I get it right? Did I get it right that time?
Yeah. To them.
The space bar is supposed to unmute and it was working. There we go.
Awesome.
I have no idea why it wasn't working in the moment, but
kind of appeal to them, because sometimes, bless you, bless you, bless you.
thank you.